Hello. Ratios, fractions, and percentages are all ways of representing numbers which are related somehow. Okay, so today we're going to learn what they mean and how to convert from one to the other. So let's use as an example a pizza. Imagine we have a pizza and we cut this pizza like this. Let's suppose they're even. Okay, so imagine we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal pieces, and we've got the pizza in those pieces. And then imagine that we eat two of those slices. Okay? So, if we wanted to express things as a fraction, and when I mean express things, we're going to express the slices we've eaten and the slices we haven't. So let's write this. So let's see. If we want to express it as a fraction, numbers expressed as a fraction are represented with related to the whole. So, for example, we have eaten. We have eaten out of 8 slices 2. Okay, so fractions are represented always as a part of a whole, and normally in the numerator you put the number that you want to represent, and on the denominator the whole. Okay, both fractions, ratios, and percentages have to be simplified, so this would be 1/4. So we have eaten 1/4 of the pizza. Okay, not eaten again would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have not eaten 6 slices out of the whole, which is 8. So then again, if we simplify, that's 3/4. Okay, so we have not eaten 3/4 of the pizza. Okay. Let's look at ratios. What are ratios? Ratios, there's two types. The most common is called part to part. Most of the exercises you will see are part to part ratios, but you might also have part to whole. Okay, so I'll explain first the part to whole. Part to whole is very similar to fractions, and that in that you're going to relate what you want, the number you want, with the whole. Okay, so eaten we would have 2 to 8, which can be simplified to 1 to 4. So as you see, it's very similar to the fraction in that we represent the part and then the whole with 2 points there in the middle. Okay, so with a colon there in the middle, and then again it has to be simplified. Not eaten then would be 6 to 8, which would be 3 to 4. Okay, but as I said, this is not so common. The most common ratios are part to part, where what we do is represent the relation between the parts. So the part to part relationship would be 2 eaten parts for every 6 non-eaten. Okay, so what we do is, instead of inserting like we did in fractions or part to whole ratios the total, we just relate one part to the other part. Okay, and now percentages are representing the parts with respect to the 100. Okay, so what we're going to do is how many parts of 100 that would be. The easiest way to do percentages is from the fraction. So from the fraction, if the way to do it is divide the fraction. 1 divided by 4 is 0.25, and then we multiply it by 100. So 0.25 times 100 would be 25. Okay, so 1/4 equals 25 out of 100. Okay, so again, so that would be, we don't simplify that, so we say that that's a 25%. Okay, so again, what do this relationship means? Fractions are parts that we relate to a whole, and they are represented in the numerator the part and in the denominator the whole, and then simplified. Ratios can be part to part or part to whole, but most commonly part to part, in where we represent one part related to the other part. Okay, and percentages are parts related to 100. Okay, so in order to calculate that, the easiest way is to do the division of the fraction and then multiply it by 100, and that would be parts in 100. Okay, so now if we have one, how do we convert it to the other? Okay, so let's go step by step. Let's see the case where we have a ratio and we want to convert it to the other relationship. So imagine we have 3:2, let's say 3 women for every man. Okay, so how do we convert that? And we assume that this is a part to part. If we're not told anything, it's a part to part relationship. Okay, so how do we convert this to fraction? Very easy. And this is a very common exercise in IGCSE and AS mathematics. Okay, so what do we have to do? We have to find the whole. How do we find the whole? We add up the parts. So in this case, 3 plus 2 is 5. And remember that fractions were parts in a whole. So what we do is woman. How many women do we have in fractions? We have 3 women out of 5. And this cannot be simplified, so we leave it like that. Men are 2 men. We have 2 men out of 5. So that's the fraction of men. And again, that cannot be simplified. Okay. So how do we convert the ratio to percentage? Well, the easiest way is to convert the ratio to fraction, and then from there to percentage. Because we've said that in order to convert a fraction to percentage, we divide that and we multiply it by 100. So 3 divided by 5 multiplied by 100 is 60%. Okay, so 60 out of 100. And 2 divided by 5 and multiplied by 100, so that means we've got a 40%. Obviously, if we add up the fractions, we have to have a whole, so 3/5 plus 2/5 is 5/5, which is 1, and 60 plus 40 is 100, so we can always check that. Okay, so that's the way to convert a ratio to a fraction and a ratio to percentage. Okay, it's very easy. Remember, from ratio to fraction, add up the parts so that we get the whole, and then each part we can divide it by the whole to convert to see the fraction. In order to obtain the percentage, obtain the fraction and then divide the fraction and then multiply it by 100. Okay, so and if we have fractions to ratios, okay, so imagine we have 3/8 and 5/8. Again, pizzas or whatever we want. Okay, so how do we convert this to ratio? Well, again, it's very easy if you understand it. Okay, because there's 3 parts and 5 parts, so this is 3:5 in a part-to-part relationship. Okay, again, we could have various fractions. We could have 3/8 to 1/8 and 4/8, and that would be a ratio of 3:1:4. Okay, we don't only have need to have 2 fractions or 2 relationships. Okay, And then how we convert the fraction to percentage? Well, the same process as before. We divide it and we'll multiply it by 100. So 3/8, and we do the division. That's 37.5%. Sorry, and 5/8. If we do the division, that's 63.5%. Let me check that forward. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so and how do we convert now percentage to fractions? Okay, imagine we have a 20% and we have 80%. So the best is to first convert it to fraction. 20% means 20 out of 100. So if we simplify that, that's 1 out of 5. 80% is 80 out of 100. So that's 4 out of 5. Again, if we check it, 4/5 plus 1/5 is 5/5, which is correct. Okay. And then if we wanted to convert it to ratio, it's easy because it's 1:4 ratio, a 1:4 ratio. Okay, so once you understand how to represent those relationships, either in fractions, ratios, or percentages, we could also convert from percentage directly to ratio, because we know it's 20 parts of 100 and 80 parts of 100, so we have a relationship of 20 parts to 80 parts. So we could directly go from there, simplify, so that would be 10⁴, and that would be 1. And that would be 1:4, the relationship that we have, which is the same relationship that we obtained if we did 1/5 and 4/5. Okay, so we could. It's also very easy to convert from percentage to ratio. It's very easy to understand how to convert one to another. I hope this helps.